If you've been thinking about selling your home in Missoula this spring, there's a really big thing I want you to hear. The market's active, but it's not automatic. My name's Jeremy Williams with the Bannack Real Estate Group, and we're now a couple months into the year, and Missoula market is starting to give us a much clearer picture of what we can expect as we head through the spring market in the summer and what those numbers look like. And honestly, there's opportunities out there for both buyers and sellers. But sellers who do well are going to be the ones that understand the pricing trends, prepare their home correctly, and don't assume the spring market's going to do all the work for them. So let's start by taking a look at the numbers and what happened the previous month. So last month we had 322 active listings, which is up from 292 the previous month. New listings jumped from 171 from 136. And so more sellers are coming to the market, but the buyers are also showing up too. Pending listings increased to 211 homes, and out of that 211, 132 homes alone came under contract last month. So that's actually a big month for Missoula, and it tells us the buyers are out there, they're writing offers, they're just being selective. The number one thing that keeps us from being a runaway seller's market right now is closed sales. Previous month we had 78 closed sales. Last month we had 79 closed sales. So that's still a little bit flat, but it stands to reason that's going to increase as some of these pendings start closing in the market. So activity's up, closed sales basically flat. That's why I keep saying the market's active, but it's not automatic. If you've been watching my videos, one of the things that I've been paying attention to over the years is absorption rate and pricing trends. So one of the most important numbers we call months of inventory, also known as absorption rate. In April, the months of inventory was at 3.7 months of inventory, and just this month it moved up to 4.13 months of inventory. And here's why that matters. Over time, we've noticed that 3.7 months is kind of an important line in the sand. When absorption is under that level, more of a seller's market, buyers feel more pressure. There's less inventory, more competition, and we see the list to sales price usually creep closer to the 98 to 100% list to sales price when those properties close. When absorption rate moves over that level, buyers gain a little bit more leverage because it's more of a buyer's market or normal to a buyer's market, and because homes typically go under contract 1 month and close the next, we often see that show up in next month's closed sales numbers. So it's a staggered relationship. It's not always this month's inventory equals this month's list of sales price. And it's more like what the buyers are feeling when they write the offer shows up when they have the closings. So that helps me explain why May's pricing numbers are still strong. May's list to sales price ratio was 98%, and the list to sales, that was on the original listing price, and on the ending listing price was 99%. And that's because previous month's absorption rate was 3.7 months. Now that we're going up to 4.13 months of inventory, it's going to be, I would expect some of those list of sales prices to soften a little bit. It's a common trend that we've seen year or month over month. So we can kind of judge what the market's doing, understand how we should be making offers, and what we could expect both on the buyers and seller side when we understand these numbers. One of the biggest things that sellers should understand is that Missoula is not a single market. Your price range matters. For example, if you're 450 to 500, the range is one of the strongest segments right now. The range has 12 active listings, 37 pendings, 20 new pending just last month, and 9 sold for just over 1 month of inventory. That's extreme seller's market. Really strong for sellers. But if you take a look at 700 to 750, that range is a different story altogether. The segment has 19 active listings, one sold listing. And what's worse is 750 to 800, that range has 18 active listings and 1 sold. So two sellers could both say, I'm selling Missoula this spring, but they might have a different experience just depending on what price point they are. And the reason for that is that 700 range tends to be the top of one price range and the bottom of another, and tends to be one of the hardest markets to sell in right now. So if you're planning to sell this spring, this is what I'd be thinking about. First, know your competition. Not just what's listed, but what actually is going on with the pendings and what's going on with the closings. Second, get your home ready before you go live. Do the cleaning, handle the obvious repairs, tighten up curb appeal, and make sure the photos are strong. Make it easy for the buyers to say yes. Third, price it right for your segment. Not for the overall headlines, not based on what your neighbor thinks your home should be worth, not based on what you need. Price is based on where buyers are actually taking action. Because inventory rises, buyers have more choices, and when the buyers have more choices, they get more selective. This is also why hiring an experienced realtor matters so much. In the market like this, you don't need someone to put your home online. You need someone who can read the market, someone who understands the difference between active listings, pendings, new listings, closed sales, someone that can explain what absorption rate means to you, someone who understands that pricing pressure can show up 1 month lag because they go under contract the month before. And most importantly, someone who can help you make informed decisions before the listing gets stale. So the strategy before you hit the market often determines the results you get from the market. It's important to understand these things before you get started to create a strong strategy to get your property sold. If you're a buyer, there's some opportunities here for you too. More listings mean more options, but the best homes are still moving fast. In fact, we've seen some multiple offer situations lately, and especially in those stronger price ranges. So you need to be more prepared and understand where you have leverage and move quickly for when the right home comes up. We could also look back at those absorption rates and get an understanding of what kind of offer we can craft in that timeline to make sure you get the best possible price as well. So bottom line this month, Missoula's real estate market is active. It's just not automatic. Sellers have opportunities, but you need to have the right strategy. And next month, we'll be watching closely to see whether May's higher absorption rates show up in the list of sales price numbers like we've continued to see for the last couple of years. If you want to know more where your home fits in today's market, reach out anytime and make sure you subscribe for next month's Missoula market update so you don't miss any information that might change your strategy and how we look at your home or the home you're buying. So if you have any questions, you could always reach me at 406-531-1519, and we look forward to talking to you soon.